Hi, it's Chris Watkin here, and I'm joined by the wonderful Laura Howey, who is an estate agent from North Yorkshire. Thanks for joining me today.
Absolute pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine. Laura, I'd like to talk to you about your journey as an estate agent, why you used to work for an estate agent, became an IFA, then went back and started your own estate agency, the trials and tribulations of being an agent, and how data and the use of data in your estate agency is really, really important to help you grow your agency. Is that okay to have a chat about all that?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right. So, you left school. What year did you leave school?
I can't remember. It was that long ago. I honestly can't. 91?
91.
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you go to college after that, or uni or something?
Yeah, I attempted college twice,
Okay.
and it didn't work out
Why
very
not?
well for me. I don't know. I just didn't have that kind of. I was over academic, so I just I didn't have a lot of interest or a lot of drive for exams and schoolwork and.
What were you into as a teenager?
Tennis,
Okay.
boys, going out.
It's got to be done, hasn't it? We've all been there, haven't
Got
we?
to be done, yeah.
True,
Yeah.
right. So, when did you settle down? When did you not settle down in terms of, but actually get a proper job?
So I was 19 and I was working in a nightclub, and I suddenly had a bit of a light bulb moment of there has to be more to life than this, and I applied for a job with Nationwide Building Society.
Okay.
I wrote them a long essay as to why they should employ someone who works behind a bar in a nightclub as someone who should work in a building society. I didn't even get an interview. And then about a month later, I got a call from Nationwide, and they said, "Do you want to take a psychometric test? We've got a vacancy. Do you want to apply?" So I said, "Yeah." Did the test, and they were like, "You've passed it at quite a high level. Do you want to come and do a 6-month maternity leave?" And I did that. Within 18 months, I was a mortgage advisor, CMAP qualified.
You enjoy it?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
So this was late 90s.
Yeah,
Okay. Going in the early 20s.
yeah,
CMAT qualified.
Yeah.
Market was reasonably okay then.
yeah.
Wasn't brilliant, but it was
Yeah,
okay.
it was okay, yeah.
Okay. Did you think you'd be a mortgage arranger for the rest of your life if I'd asked you that?
Absolutely not. There's nothing that I think I'll do for the rest of my life. So I go through my life as a permanent process of evolution. So whenever I get to a point with something, I think, okay, what's next? It's always for me, what's next? What's next?
Is that shiny object syndrome?
Can be. I wouldn't like to say that it isn't.
Where do you get that from? Your mum or your dad?
Probably my mum.
Okay, because I think, if memory serves well, before we switch the cameras on, is that your father was an engineer, wasn't he?
Yeah, civil engineer.
So did he move around the globe all the time then?
Yeah, so he worked in the Middle East when I was a baby, which is why we moved from north to south in the first place. And when he came back from the Middle East, we just stayed in the south because that's where the money is for road building and bridge building. So.
But in terms of that shiny object syndrome, or whatever you want to call it, is that from your dad or your mum?
Definitely my mum, I would say, and she's very driven. At 42, my mum qualified as a ODP, which is an operating department practitioner. She went to university, and she was told she'd amount to nothing, and she she worked as a secretary for years and wanted to be a nurse, and told she couldn't do it, and then yeah.
So where does your mum get that drive from then?
I really don't know. Probably my grandfather, I would say. He worked in the city. In fact, he was one of the first developers of computer systems in the 1970s. They even flew into Bermuda for 3 years to live there, and the law firm that he worked for was huge. Worked on Canary Wharf, and he was, before computers were even a thing, he was working on them.
So what made you go from being a mortgage arranger? I mean, you were a mortgage arranger for about 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
but by then you decided to have some children.
I did. So I went in between that, I went to Santander, well, Abbey it was at the time, because Nationwide said I hadn't worked as a mortgage advisor long enough to sit my financial planning exams, and Abbey National had a different opinion on the situation, so I moved and went there. And I qualified as a financial advisor, and had my own mortgage mandate and everything. This was all at 21, so I was one of the youngest qualified financial advisors at Abbey at the time, doing pensions, investments, and mortgages at 21. And then I had a family.
Did you see your age as an advantage or a disadvantage?
A disadvantage, but the way that Abbey worked was over the phone, so I did remote financial advising, so it was really good because people couldn't see me, so they didn't know how old I was, and it wasn't really appropriate you wouldn't ask someone over the phone or
should ask a lady your age anyway, should you?
No, how old are you? No, they wouldn't ask, so it was a huge advantage. It just was circumstances happened that I worked that way. So
when did you get married?
2002.
2002, and you had children almost straight away?
I had one before and one after.
Oh, very good. So it's all the rage nowadays.
Yeah, all the rage.
You've got to make sure it works, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a few years off.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy your time off?
Yeah, I do. It's a difficult one because as a parent, you struggle between the wanting to be with your children and the also wanting to be selfish and focus on yourself and have a career. So
I've spoken to a lot of mums on this sofa, and they say that they suffer from mum guilt.
Yeah.
Now, I know I wouldn't ask a dad that before everyone jumps down on me. Okay, did you suffer from that?
I think you suffer from guilt as a parent, full stop, male, female, whatever, I think. And I think it's easier for mums to say that they feel guilty, but I think there's plenty of dads who do as well. And I think it's just about getting that life blend right. And I think that it's very hard to get it right on any level. So
you went back to work pretty quickly, didn't you?
I don't know. Yeah, on and off. I was doing bits and pieces of work.
So I mean, you went back to work for an estate agent for a couple of years, and then got your badge back and went IFAing again.
Yeah, I did. I did that when my youngest was just starting primary school, so she was 4. And I persuaded a friend to childmind for me so that I could feel less guilty about leaving her. And I went back and I was an IFA for a 7-branch estate agency, which was pretty much my second introduction to independent estate agency. And I shared an office with the branch manager of that agency.
You enjoy it?
Yeah, I really did actually. It was I didn't realise how independent agencies ran. I didn't really know too much about estate agency. I'd worked for one in the south doing, Saturday Girl and things like that, but I didn't really know too much about it, and it looked super interesting to me.
Just because it was just different people?
I don't know. I just liked being more involved with the mortgages and the financial advice part. You're involved with such a limited part of the journey, whereas the estate agent was involved with the whole journey. The mortgage was just a little part of that, or the financial advice was a little part of that. So,
but then all of a sudden you decided in 2009 to up sticks and move back up to North Yorkshire.
I did, yeah.
With husband and kids in tow?
Yes, I did.
How easy was that to move?
Really difficult, actually. It was a huge leap of faith, but I think
Were your parents still up there?
No, my parents were in the south, and I left them, and I know it was very random.
What did you just say? Hold on. You were going back to basically where you were born as a child. You'd hardly ever visited there.
Yeah.
What? You just went to Darlington one day and thought,
yeah, honestly, it was a pin in a map situation. I was like, right, I'm going to live near Darlington because it's on the A1 north and south. I'll surely get work between Newcastle and Leeds somewhere, and that was it.
What about your husband's job?
It is what it is, isn't it? My ex-husband.
Wasn't ex at the time, mind you.
No, he wasn't. He was an ex-husband. But my ex-husband, he had a varied career of multiple options, so he didn't stay in one.
Okay,
thing
so really, it
particularly.
didn't really matter because he was a bit of a a bit of a gypsy in terms of moving around.
Yeah. So he'd gone from Nottingham to Bournemouth to London in between, and
I mean, that's taking. I mean, there's flitting between the jobs, but there's flitting just putting a pin in the map and going up the dark. That's quite brave.
Yeah, it was quite crazy, to be honest, at the time. But I just really felt like I'd grown up on the South Coast and I wanted my children to have a different experience to the one I had in childhood. And I felt the pace of life is so fast in the South. I wanted them to have a much slower pace of life growing up, and that's what I felt the North could bring them. And because I have family and I'm from the North, then I spent a lot of time there, and I saw how my cousins grew up who were the same age as me. They grew up very differently to me, and the schools were better.
So it's not as if your parents are up there, but aunts and uncles and
yeah.
And
So I have family.
That's where I want to.
Yeah, I don't know why I did it, to be honest. It just seemed like, sometimes again these things in life just seem like, okay, that's what I need to do now.
Because this doesn't seem the normal thought pattern of a normal estate agent.
No, it doesn't. No.
So you set up an estate agency in 2009, the worst housing market for a generation.
Yes.
Are you some kind of crazy lady?
Yes. Yeah,
did you set up by yourself?
No, I didn't. I had a business partner. So the estate agent that I'd gone to work for as an IFA, which had 7 branches, and I covered all.
So you went up there to actually work?
Yeah, well, I didn't go there to work. I happened to meet an estate agent during a random meeting, and that estate agent said to me, "We're looking for a mortgage advisor. Do you fancy it?" I was like, "Yeah, okay then." And I hadn't mortgage advised for a few years at that time, so I went and resat all of my financial planning exams because I thought, well, I need to make sure I'm up to date. I hadn't done it for a few years. And I just went and worked for them. Recession hit. They were like, right, we're going to close, I think. It got, I'd heard rumours in the office. I shared an office with one of the directors. I knew it was on its way out kind of thing. One of the managers of one of their offices I became friendly with, and we had a conversation, and I said to her, look, serious conversation, this situation isn't going to last much longer for you. Do you fancy setting up our own agency? And she was like, yeah, let's do it.
How long have you known this other manager?
18 months.
Okay. You knew her pretty well.
Yeah, I knew her. I mean, and to be honest, that was where it was her too. So she managed 2 branches. She was only 22 at the time, and she managed 2 branches, and they were the 2 branches that brought me my most leads. So I thought, well, if we base ourselves where one of those branches was, which is where my office still is today, that was where I felt would be my best opportunity.
Were you scared about setting up your own agency?
No.
And again, why weren't you scared?
Because I think if you're offering, it doesn't matter how many people there are in the market, it doesn't matter how many people are doing what they're doing. If you believe in something and you do it well, there will always be enough work for you and everybody else. So I wasn't concerned because I think, well, I'll just go and do the job that I think I should do. I had in my head a vision of how I wanted an estate agent to be. Didn't know that much about doing it.
Okay. What was that vision? Describe to me that vision.
The vision was to just give people a better experience. So if my gran was putting her house on the market, or my mum or my auntie, how would I want them treated? What experience would I want them to have? And that is the experience that I want my clients to have, and that is the experience that I give them.
So how was it with, obviously the housing market went belly up 09-10, but things came back 11-12.
It was tough.
Although Darlington was a bit later on, because you counted Durham, so you're more 13-14 before you started to kick on again.
Yeah.
And we had that little blip in 15 as well, I can remember it well. Everything going okay? Yeah,
it's going really well. It's it's busy and it's good, and we've carved out a real niche where we are. So my vision has gone from strength to strength, and I've spent kind of the first half of my time with the business learning the estate agency, learning about, I've done my property mark qualifications and learning about what is the industry, the people in it, getting involved in the industry. And then I thought, right, this is now time for me to really set aside how I want to do it. What do I want from my business in this industry, and what do I see for the future of my business?
When did you first come across Mark Burgess?
It was a few years ago, I stumbled across a YouTube video, which I now think was probably a targeted YouTube video. So I think this was content marketing at its best. And I'm always on the internet late at night looking for new ways of doing things and absorbing content from other people, you know, American agents, Australian agents, whatever.
Why does that thirst come from?
I don't know.
Because most estate agents aren't like that.
Are they not? No,
All they want to do is talk about their market share and how awesome they are.
I'm not in for market share. Couldn't care less about market share. I don't know, you know.
What do you like about a estate agency? Is it the relationships?
The relationships. It's a journey. For me, it's a journey. For me, it's about, I've got clients that I'm now working for the 7th, 8th member of their family who I'm their estate agent, and I'm the person that they ring up when something's happening. My auntie's having a nightmare selling a house. Where's the house? In Norwich. Can you talk her through it? Even I go to a Buddhist centre as well, and the monk at the Buddhist centre, he said, can you ring my mum and talk to her? She's trying to move from Cotswolds to Cornwall. Absolutely nothing to do with my area, no financial benefit to me at all. That's not what I'm there for. It's just about, I've created these relationships with people.
And it's the relationships.
That's all I'm bothered about.
But isn't it interesting that when it comes to relationships, estate agents are almost very transactional and not relationship based, are they?
Yeah, and that's the bit I really struggle with in the industry, because I think there is too much where too many people don't care, and that's where the reputation for estate agents has come from. Is people are disingenuous about the results that they're trying to achieve, about the reasons why they're trying to achieve those results, and I think that's where the lack of trust has come in the industry.
Do you really think that software and computer systems can fix human relationships?
No, I don't think it's about fixing them. I think it's about maintaining contact. That you're, like, I'm one person and I might have 3,000 people in my database, and it's about having that contact with people all the time and being able to get my message out to that many people. It's just not possible. I meet people and they're going, oh my God, I didn't even know someone like you existed or thought that way, or we could have that option for us selling our house. I'm not for everyone. There's plenty of people, you know, use the online agents or, you know, other traditional high street agents or whatever. It doesn't matter, but it's just a way of speaking to people on such a broad spectrum that, and you find out the people that will connect with you. You want that connection with people who, like your tribe. You want the people who think like you do, who behave like you do, and it's like people like you.
And you really think that, you know, describe to me what the Lifecycle system does to keep that relationship going with those 3,000-4,000 people?
The Lifecycle system is just a phenomenal tool for a business like mine, where you're small. You don't have lots of people who are literally, you know, hitting the phones every day. And even if you did, it's still not a direct message from me. So it's like, I can record a video on YouTube, I can make some content surrounding that, and I can target it out to people in my database who they will connect with that message. So it's not just like random scattergun, like 15,000 leaflets in your town that's going to cost you $2,000 to send out. What's the point in that? I just think I'm sending out targeted messages, and then I can see who's connecting with those messages, who's taking in that content, or are they then going and looking at other things? And you know, I mean, it's like valuations come in, and I'll go straight to Lifecycle. So no, Mrs. Brown, you know, she wants to book an evaluation. I'll go straight onto Lifecycle, and I can 9 times out of 10 they will have done an instant valuation with me within the last, normally between 9 and 12 months ago, and then been put into a nurture journey, and then been sent relevant content from me about the message that I want to have with them over that period of time.
Because everybody says instant valuations are a waste of time.
No, they're not. They're absolutely not. People need to manage their expectations as to what these things do. And an instant valuation tool is just a connection. It's like a hello in the street, see you in a little while. That's all it is. And it's about that minute in time where you can, they've just come across your company, and then that's the door opening a little bit for you to...
Do you think estate agents, that most valuers go wrong, that they think, well, it's a waste of time? Because
yeah. It's because people want instant gratification all the time. They're not prepared to wait.
It's like you get a smile from the pretty girl, but at the end of the day, you've got to work on it for them to actually start talking to you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you wouldn't walk up to someone on day one and go, "We'll get married tomorrow."
No.
It's like you're asking people, and people are very protective over their homes. We're English people, we love our homes, and that's just something that we do. And this is something that people have worked their whole lives for. They've committed everything, they're very proud of it, and yet you want them, after 2 minutes of meeting you or a leaflet through the door, to suddenly put it into your hands and step back and let you get on with it. It's just not a thing.
You've got to woo them, haven't you?
You have.
But surely, therefore, you have to spend some time putting content in, creating it yourself.
Yeah.
You have to then keep an eye on it to see what leads come out.
Yeah.
That must take time.
But that's how the system, the life cycle, really helps, because it's. So it depends on what you're looking for that day. I can open Lifecycle and say I want to look for people who I could possibly need evaluation, and I could go into Lifecycle and pull up a list of people, and they're the people that I ring. So it's about using your time wisely.
And it does actually get you the needs you need.
Yeah, they're already sat in there. So it's got my database of, say, 3,000 people or however many people, and it will tell me, I can filter out who's got a house to sell. Then I can look at those people. It will rank them in order of who's interacted with me the most, and how long ago, and how they first came across me. You have that so much background on these people.
Someone's actually said to me today that they see Lifecycle as half the price of an inadequate negotiator, but actually he's a superb negotiator.
Exactly, yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, I would say, I think we're at a pivotal point in history. I think you're looking at, so it started to me with the online agents coming in, and everyone was like, "Ooh, this is revolutionary." And then we had Rightmove, and people moved from newspaper advertising to that kind of internet advertising, and now people want a way out of Rightmove. This is the way out. Direct marketing, speaking to your town and your people directly. You don't need portals. I'm moving further and further away from the portals, and it's like all this, how many you on, and let's go on another one. Why are you on multiple portals? Why are you feeding someone else's database? I want all my data in and then I can look at it and I can do stuff with it, and that is what's going to give my business value.
I mean, what would your message be to any estate agent considering Lifecycle? Because it's not inexpensive.
Ring me. Ring me. They can have a chat with me anytime about my experience with it. I've been with Lifecycle since its inception. I wouldn't be without it. It's a CRM. It's been the answer. I mean, there is no silver bullet. That is the thing. A lot of estate agents want something that's just going to work for them and do everything for them. It doesn't do that. You have to feed it. You have to put things into it. You have to create journeys. But once you've done all that, it's amazing.
I mean, if you don't mind me saying, I know your business partner left each other about a year ago. Would it be fair to say that if it wasn't for Lifecycle, you probably still wouldn't be in business today?
Yeah, potentially.
Because if you think about it, you've lost one of your business partners, but at the end of the day, you can still run because you've got a great database.
The database is by far, it seems to have a life of its own, the database, and it just seems to function on and do anything. And like I say, it's amazing the amount of times the phone will ring and someone's already in the database. It's more times than not.
Play the long game, feed it full of great content, tickle them, nurture them, and eventually they'll come out the other end.
Yeah. And then even then, once they've bought a house or sold a house through you, and somebody else the new buyer goes into the database, you've then got more people in your database, and they're then being nurtured. So as a new buyer, they've been they've been in 18 months. I was meant to ring them 6 months ago to see how their first year's been in their new house, but I forgot because I was busy doing X, Y, Z, or just didn't even think about it at all. They've already had an email 6 months ago saying everything that you wanted to say, or you could send them a video, or the only limit with Lifecycle is your imagination. It can do and deliver whatever you want it to. You just have to put it in there and tell it where to go.
Put the time and the effort in, feed it, and she knows.
Yeah.
Laura, thank you for your time today.
Pleasure.
As I've said before, I've not been paid a penny by Lifecycle or Mark or anyone from the Lifecycle organisation for this series of videos. It's just that a hell of a lot of my clients use Lifecycle and love it to bit. love it to bits. They're even evangelical and cult-like about it.
Aren't
And I just wanted to just find out from my own ears why people loved it so much. I am a huge fan of it. It's not for everyone.
It isn't for everyone.
It does take time and effort to do. So if you're sort of a estate agent who likes checkbook estate agency, you just can't write a check and it works. You have to put the time and effort in as well.
You do. But it's the future. It is the future. And I think, you know, it's a moment in history. People will look back at this time and think, where did I go wrong? Because the agents that are doing it now and the agents that look back on it in 5 years are going to be in very different places.
Thank you for your time today, Laura.
Thank you.